You basically have to do the work of the seeding and sorting in Chrome. And so I'll just start from the very beginning. Okay, so if you start in Chrome, you can go to the EDGI website, which is envirodatagov.org. And we have all of our archiving primers available if you click on the archiving tab, and then if you click on the agency archiving primers list. And so this is where we have all of the primers that have been written and sort of worked on for EDGI. We have two kinds of primers. The first are main agency primers, and these are based on an entire department. And so what this is sort of an overview of that department, the transition team, if it was pre-inauguration or now sort of the political nominees, and then also a risk assessment, which is sort of just comments made by the administration or sort of targeted regulations or things like that. What you actually use for the web archiving aspect are the sub-agency primers, which are listed sort of below, and they're for specific offices in the department. And so if we were going to be working with this Department of Energy, one, we can take a look at, for example, the Office of Science subprimer. And so you click on it and it opens up this Google Doc, and there's some background, but the main important part is essentially this list of starting points. And what this is a list of the important parts of the website that we've essentially pulled out that are good starting points for people to start exploring the web page. And so what a subprimer's purpose really is to be able to act as a guide for people that show up to departments or show up to data archiving events that don't have prior knowledge of how the departments are laid out and how to find data there. And so you essentially assign one starting point to one volunteer, and they sort of explore the web around there. And so if I were coming to an event and this were the subprimer that I would be working with, I could be assigned sort of this starting point 7, which is this basic energy science research programs. And so what I would do is I would click on this link, and this brings me to a place in the Office of Science's website that I can now explore. And so the numbers that I need to know, so the Chrome extension uses some numbers for metadata, essentially, or labeling. And so up here, you can see the Chrome extension. It's called the nomination tool, and I can show you how to download that. And you can see that there are sort of, the title and the URL are auto-filled. There's a space for your name, your email, which needs to be in the form of an email, but doesn't actually need to be an email, and then the event name, and then these codes. And so the agency, sub-agency, organization, and sub-organization come from the agency office code. So this is a unique 4-number, basically code that identifies this particular office. So what you would do here is you would say that it's 2310, and that means that every link that you submit like this will be tagged back to the Office of Science. Then the subprimer number is the number in the numbered list here of the starting point that you're working on. So in this case, it would be 7. And this just helps to further narrow down where in the website this came from. And so if you wanted to submit this page, what you would do is you would go to 310 and then 7, and then you would take a look at whether or not this page was crawlable or not, and we can talk about like the distinction there. This looks fairly crawlable, and then you would hit submit, and then it would say URL submitted, thanks, and then you're all set. And then what you would do is you would basically click through the website by clicking on these links and sort of seeing where you can continue to explore the website. And so what we're looking for seeds are not PDFs, but we're looking for a place in the sitemap of this website where there are sort of places to go. So what a web crawler does is it clicks on all of the links on one page and opens those, and then it clicks on all of the links on those pages and then opens those, and then it does that for 3 levels in the case of the end of term web crawler. And so that means that if you give it the start of the site tree, essentially, it won't make its way all the way down, but we're trying to give it these intermediate points so it can still fully explore the sitemap. And so when you're looking through the web page, you're looking for sort of not necessarily PDFs to seed, but you're looking for web pages that, for example, here will bring you to pages with more links. You can click into here, and this is sort of, there are pages with more links here, so this would be a good seed. And so you're approximately trying to hit it every 2 to 3 levels so that you can sort of accurately cover this sitemap. And so then the difference between crawlable and uncrawlable is that when we're doing web archiving, we label pages as either crawlable, which means that they get sent to the end of term harvest for their web crawl, or we label them as uncrawlable, which means that for whatever reason, the web crawler would not be able to work on them. And there are sort of 4 main categories for that, and I can go over that in a second. But these are then sent to the data archiving workflow, and so they're put into the Archivers app. And then the data is sort of harvested that way. And so in the nomination tool, you can see that there are sort of these 4 toggle switches that you can look at. And these are the 4 sort of kinds of uncrawlable things that we're looking at. And so what we have is basically this FAQ that I can email you, that basically outlines what are the different kinds of uncrawlables, and it gives you an example of each of them. So for example, a file transfer protocol looks pretty much like this, and this is something that we send to sort of the data archiving pipeline if it's a visualization or an interactive, if there are just a lot of files so that you could easily pull this down with a script, or if it's any sort of queryable database. These are all things that are uncrawlable, although FTPs are crawlable, but we send them to the uncrawlable pipeline so that they can be harvested properly. And so then you can mark this in the Chrome extension and submit it in the same way. And so if you don't toggle any of these switches, it's automatically marked as crawlable. And if you do toggle any of the switches, it's marked as uncrawlable. And so you basically work your way through the website like that. And the way to download the nomination tool is that on the top right hand of every page of every subprimer, there's this document linked to the agency office code, which brings you to a place to actually download the Chrome extension, and then also a quick how-to recap if people get confused or aren't sure what to do next. So does that make sense?